So my name is Veronica Reynolds. I'm the head of community relations here at New City Library. I welcome you to our digital space. And we are really lucky to have Pei-Cen Lin with us tonight. She's an organization driver, performance improvement consultant, and talent development professional with 20 plus years of experience in human resources, learning and development, and teaching and coaching. She has a passion for cultivating talent, creating future leaders, and helping businesses thrive. She's also a Deloitte trained career transition coach and was a professional development column writer for Professional Organizations Monthly Newsletter. And you can still access those websites, those articles through her website, which I will link in the chat. During the past 2 decades, Pei-Cen served on numerous professional organization boards and is currently a director at large and the chair of the Organizational Development and Change Management Special Interest Group with New York City Society of Human Resource Management. And we're going to talk interviewing today, so I can't wait to hear everything that you've got to say. I just put your website into the chat, so if anyone wants that link, it's there for later as well. But for now, I'm going to step back and let you take the show. I'll be here the whole time. If anybody has any concerns, just say my name and I'll pop right back.
Thank you, Veronica. All right, I am going to present my slide. All right, hold on one second. All right, and we are going to cover some interviewing questions as well as the STAR method, and also help you with some preparation and planning. Then we will have time for some Q&A. And so let's jump right in. Can you see this slide? So my question to you is, what am I communicating in this picture? You could come off mute and share with me what you feel that I'm communicating.
Or resume. But we have to put in the resume, no?
Good. Yes, what you have is going to be in your resume. Great. Anyone else?
It's as everything that you allude to there, your experience, your expertise, and your skills, everything about you. That's just it. You're trying to convey that, I think, in an interview.
Thank you. Good answer. Anybody wants to supplement as well? Well, what do you think? Well, I will sum it up. Yes, you comprise of your skills, your experience, your expertise, things that you put on your resume. So you have a lot to offer. Everything that you've written down on your resume is something that you have within you. So you should feel confident about what you bring to the table. And the first thing that I wanted to share with you is self-awareness. So you know what you got. You know what you could share, what you can contribute. So that is important in terms of maintaining that confident mindset. You also are at the stage where, because of all these that you have shared in your resume, you've been selected by the recruiter or the hiring manager, given their review of what they saw on your resume. And they like what you presented on paper with regards to your skills, your expertise, and your experience. So you actually have been validated as a potential match. So you should give yourself a pat on the back for your past accomplishments, regardless of whether you are going for a similar role or a different role. You have the experience, the skills, and the expertise to contribute to your future employer. So you should feel good, right? At this point, you should feel really good because you were selected and you should feel confident about what you possess. Now, this next step is you need to present that confidently, okay? So you have the skills, you have the experience, you have the expertise. The interview is just a setting for the potential future employer to meet, you, the potential future candidate, to find out more, to get to know you, the person, and assess whether there's a true match. They want to hear in person what you can do and how you fit in. So when you're at your interview, given what you have, you could be confident, not cocky or arrogant, just confident. Right. So now that we established the skills and expertise and experience you bring to the table, recognize that you are also important. One of the objectives of the interview is for the interviewer to find out more about you as a whole, not just what's on paper, not just about your skills, experience, and expertise. They want to get to know you as a person. They want to hire someone that can fit into their culture, on their team, someone that they could work with. So the interview is actually an opportunity to connect with your future potential colleagues, supervisor. And so the interview is actually a two-way street. It's you and them, and you wanted to have a conversation. You wanted to ask questions. This will demonstrate your interest, engagement, your confidence, and people building skills. Right? You can actually shape the dynamics of the interview. Be self-assured and calm, because we just established that you bring a lot to the table. So you can have a dialogue like in any work setting. Be natural, show them who you are. Don't shortchange yourself or what you want, because you are also equally important. And that the interview is an opportunity for you to find out more about your potential future employer and your future manager or colleagues. So knowing that you are not like the lesser part of the equation will actually help you preserve that confident mindset. Are we in agreement? So you have a lot to contribute, and you are equally as important in interview process of the interview. And so you should have that confidence as you set foot in that door, whether it's the virtual door or the in-person door. Okay. And now it's part of you. Okay, the reason I want to bring this up is you have to keep in mind what you are looking for, what's in it for you, so that you are actually accomplishing your objective at the same time that your interviewer is accomplishing their objective. Because if you feel that you're not getting what you need, then you might have a change of emotions during your interview, which then may not give you that strong, confident mindset and perception that we want you to exude in the interview. So think about this. What do you want them to know about you and your capabilities? What do you want to find out from them or about them? So as you go through the interview, keep your objective and messages in mind. And this is not a one-day thing where, I know what to do and you're going to do it on your, it takes practice. So if you mess up in 1 or 2 interviews, is okay. But what I wanted to share with you is that in order for you to have that confidence, then you want to know what is it that you could get out of them at just the same as what they want to find out from you and get from you. So I'm going to share with you a few examples of what you could ask to find out more about them. Like, you want to find out about the company culture, why are they hiring? Like, how do people like working at the company? So these are just some of the sample questions that you could ask them, so that you can get the information out of them, just as they're getting information out of you. So at the end of the day, you can make the assessment whether you want to work for the company you just interview with, just as they are assessing whether they wanted to hire you based on their interaction with you. One of the questions that I always ask at the end of the interview is, what are your concerns about me? I know this question is direct and the response may not be what you want, to hear right then and there. However, the answer to this question gives you insight to where you stand and an opportunity to address their concerns right then and there. So I don't know about you, but sometimes in the interview, you are going to give an answer and then you're going to think about whether the answer you gave was the right answer or the appropriate answer. And that's going to be in the back of your mind, which kind of shakes your confidence. So we don't want that to happen. And we just want to try to mitigate and eliminate any potential question marks you have top of mind. So that's one of the questions that I typically ask up front, just so that I know where I stand or what they're thinking about. And you have the opportunity right then and there to address their concerns, rather than waiting after the interview to write a thank you letter and try to pitch yourself in a few more words in that thank you letter. So you just want to take care of the situation right then and there. The next section that we want to cover is interview questions. And the reason that we wanted to cover some interview questions is because when you are better prepared in responding to some of these interview questions, then you could ensure that you are still confident about what you bring to the table. Because I have had instances where I've answered questions and I'm like, maybe I should have gotten, a better response. Maybe, there might be other things. And then while you are sitting at the interview, then you're making yourself nervous because you're like, oh, I already messed up. And what's going to happen in the next 30 minutes? So, you don't want that to happen to you as well. I know there are certain questions that you could certainly work out in advance. And so I wanted to share how to respond to a few of these interviewing questions, so you're not caught off guard, which, that makes shake your confidence. But I only listed a few. The first one is you see the dollar sign. All right. So when you are asked about anticipated, expected, required, desired salary, okay, there are a couple of strategies. Okay. In states where salary range is not posted, you can actually flip the question and ask for their range, okay? Saying something like, it would be helpful if you could share what the range is for this role. And I have some good news for you. Well, that we, in New York State, there's a recent legislation. Well, actually, it was passed in December 21st, 2022. So effective September 17, 2023, the new law requires employers to list salary ranges for all advertised jobs and promotions in New York State. That's the New York State Pay Transparency Law. It's one of the 7 states that currently has pay equity laws in place. So you can expect to see salary ranges for particular postings for jobs in New York State. Also, if some companies have offices in other states, they may start posting that as well. And some jobs are remote. So some companies that may have remote jobs elsewhere than for New York State and some other states that has the pay transparency laws, then you could see some of the postings. So you get an idea of the dollar amount. Let's go back to that. So that was just one strategy that you could do is, if it's not posted, ask for their range. Another one is you could delay answering the question, saying you'd like to learn more about the role or the rest of the compensation package before discussing salary. So defer it and defer the question. And it is true that compensation package as a whole, not just salary, is an important part of the evaluation and negotiation for you to for them to hire you and bring you on board. Another strategy is stay the range. Don't corner yourself in with one number. I'm going to share with you my first job. Okay, my first job out of college. I interviewed and they asked me for what would you like as your desired salary? Of course, I researched. I was like, I think X number is good. They're like, well, they asked me, well, why? I said, well, it's reasonable. And, that's something I can accept. They're like, okay, so yeah, I did get the job and I got the offer and I got the salary I asked for. But in the back of my mind, because I have a classmate that went to work for a similar size company. Granted, they have 10 more people. Okay, and they actually got a higher offer than the one that I was offered that. So it's like in the back of my mind, I was like, I just cornered myself in. If I didn't say anything, if I didn't put my foot in my mouth, maybe I would have gotten higher pay or something else. So my recommendation is stay the range. Don't corner yourself in with just a specific number. Of course, that's after you've done your research. All right. So that's in regards to the dollar question. Often than not, you are going to be asked an illegal question by one of your interviewers. So a legal interview question is a question that violate the law or discriminate against the candidate based on their race, gender, age, religion, national origin, marital status, or disability. And unfortunately, these questions still get asked. The interviewer may be just trying to make a conversation and may not realize that these questions are off limits because it's most likely that they haven't gone through an interviewing skills training. So whatever the case may be, when you're asking a legal question, there are a few response options. One, you could politely decline saying something like, I'm not comfortable answering that question and it's not relevant to the job requirement. So that's one option. Two, you could address the question behind the question. Asking something like, what are your concerns? Or as an example, you can say, are you asking about my flexibility to meet job commitments? So find out exactly what is it that they really want to know by asking the question they asked you. And perhaps they'll just come around and say, I was just, curious. I was just making conversation, so it may not be as serious as you thought it would be. And three, you could just simply, give them the answer. If you end up being their colleague, coworker, the question might come out anyway. And then when you do answer, to tie it back to the job, steer your answer toward your skills and your strength. So you might, take some practice. So those are some of the options you could use when you encounter one of those illegal questions. And there are actually lots of common questions that they can ask you. And in the time that we're given, okay, I'm just only going to touch upon just a few of those, okay? What's the most common question that you have encountered? If you want to type that in chat, feel free to do so. Well, I will tell you about one. One of the pretty common questions is, tell me about yourself. Seems simple enough, right? Tell me about, I get the chance to talk about me. How awesome is that? Well, it's a very simple question, yet it's could possibly be a very loaded question as well, because there's so much you could share about yourself. You don't want to take up too much time. You don't want to ramble. You want to be on target and to the point. That what is it that they really want to know about you? So just to simplify things, just talk to them, be brief, talk to them about, well, what do you currently do now? What have you done in the past? And what do you want to do in the future? So don't start with, this is something that I have done in the past. Oh yeah, I graduated from so-and-so, and I always wanted to do this because I was good at this, and therefore, like that's just sometimes TMI. Sometimes after you give your answer, you're like, why did I share so much of that? Like, is it really necessary? I'm not saying they're going to use it against you, but just stick to, the point. So that's a very easy question, yet it's kind of a little bit difficult depending on how you, look at it. So what are some other common questions that could get you like in trouble or shake your confidence during an interview? Another one that's frequently asked, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? It's like the strength question is easy. Got that, right? So weakness part is like, oh, great. Now I want to get higher and now I have to tell them about my weakness. So what I would suggest that you do is share a weakness, perhaps that's something that you're working to improve, something that's not directly to the job that you're applying to. So for example, if you are an accountant and you work on numbers and you're working on data information, and one of your weakness could be public speaking in front of people. Granted, some accountants, they do have to have public speaking skills because they interact with clients, but a lot of the internal accountants, they just focus on working with their numbers. So by saying that you are looking to improve public speaking, it might not be as alarming of a weakness, during your interview for them to perceive you as like you're not capable of fulfilling the job that you're looking to apply. If you are a teacher, okay, one of the, you could do something in reverse. What are your weaknesses? As a teacher, you do the curriculum, you talk to students, you have your patience, so you certainly don't want to say, well, I can't stand there when they take too long, that would be a good thing. So one of the weaknesses perhaps is like, well, I need to work on my Excel formula, right? Because it's something that you could possibly do, but it's not directly related to what you do. Those are just examples. So take some time to think about how and what you want to say. That's not going to be some glaring type of item that they're going to say, well, then they find you not fit for the particular job that you're looking to apply. So what other common questions that we could look at? As you know, given the pandemic, employers have actually been focusing on employee well-being, much more so, because people are burned out, people are stressed. So that is a potential question that could come up in your interview. How do you deal with pressure or stressful situation? Even though companies have implemented programs to help the existing employees with their well-being and when they're under pressure or stress and talking to their managers on how to work well and care for employees, you still want to be mindful that you could, you would not add to their burden per se. So think about how do you, deal with pressure or stressful situations. Say something positive like, well, maybe you do yoga to help your mental. You do meditation, or you spend time with family to de-stress. So as long as you have an outlet, so that's something that will be a positive answer to share. And so for you, think back to the things that you do. See, what you do and how you alleviate or deal with stressful situations. Perhaps it's Well, I have a checklist and I write everything down. So then I know what to do, come the next day. So that way I'm not, being stressed about my workload. Or how do you deal with pressure? Perhaps you talk to somebody. You have your circle of support. So things like that. Just think, about what comes natural to you that you have done that actually helps you, and it will actually alleviate the concern of the potential employee. Let's do one more. Okay, and in the interest of time, I think we have time for one more. Now that you know your resume very well, what if they ask you, what should I know that's not on your resume? Oh, great. And now it's like, I study my resume so I can provide the answers and be sure that I give the right responses. Now you want to ask me something that's not on my resume. What am I going to do there? So we don't want you to get jitterbugs about, well, now I have to figure something out. So no, at least now there's a potential question. What should they know? And this is actually a great opportunity for you. Talk about a positive trait, a story or detail that reveals a little more about you and your experience, or your mission or your goals that makes you excited about the role or the company. So tie it back, something positive, ties it back to what you want to do and what you're looking for. So keep your answers clear, concise, and relevant. So my recommendation is for you to take some time to think through some of the answers to commonly asked questions. Because when you are better prepared in responding to interview questions, then you will exude more confidence during your interview. You will not be thrown off guard, and you will be able to have everything in control as much as you possibly can, especially for yourself. Another type of interview question, behavior interview. And I want to cover with you, the response technique to behavioral interview question. Before we do that, what is a behavioral interview? Could come off mute. Behavioral interview is interviews that assess how candidates navigate specific situations and utilize skills relevant to the position. So they typically are questions that start with, tell me about, give me an example, describe a time or situation. So they want to know how you handle things, how you've handled things in the past, and how that could possibly be how you will handle situations in the job that you're going to be in. So they want to know how you are going to respond. So the way you are going to approach this is using the STAR method. So the STAR method is describe, it's STAR. So S stands for situation, T stands for task, A stands for action, and R stands for results. So describe the situation that you were in or the task that you need to accomplish. You give enough details for the interviewer to understand without being long-winded though. And then the action you took, keep the focus on you. Okay, even if you're discussing a group project or effort, describe what you did, not what the efforts of the team. And the results you achieved. So what happened? What did you accomplish? So this is the framework on how you can approach a response. So you will actually have to think back to a couple of situations that you have encountered and work through it. Write things down in advance. because right then and there during the interview, you could follow this guideline, but then it's always good to have something in your pocket that you already prepped. And so I would say that, identify a few questions that says, tell me about, a time where you did so-and-so. And then try to come up with the situation or the task that you want to share, talk about the action, and then talk about the results that you achieve. And you could probably look up a ton of these behavior interview questions on the internet. So these are some of the ways to address the interview questions that are presented during the interview. And have confidence in the answers that you give without thinking in the back of your head that, did I give the right answer, wrong answer? Because that's something that you don't want to do. So to avoid shaking your confident mindset. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I was on an interview and they had asked about an ethical situation that you've come across.
Mm-hmm.
So, I tried to anticipate questions prior to the interview. And, in my career, I never really came up with an ethical situation or dilemma that I was involved in. So I gave the answer as being truthful, said I really have not in my career came across a situation where I was involved in any kind of ethical situation. Is it okay, I guess, an interview to be honest? I mean, I was not going to lie and say, and put myself in just or discuss something that really wasn't pertaining to me. So I felt like I was honest in the interview and said, look, I just don't have I guess it kind of wasn't ready for that question and I wasn't anticipating that. So I was just honest and said, I haven't come across anything ethical that, pertaining to me.
Well, I applaud you for being honest. The number one thing that you want to keep in mind is you want to be truthful, you want to be honest. Isn't that the question that they always ask when you submit your resume? Are you sure this is all the truth and nothing but the truth? So in your interview, you don't want to stretch anything, because at the end of the day, they might do background checks. They're going to do they might interview, double check with your previous employer, ask your previous manager about you. So the only thing that you want to present is nothing but the truth. Because if it's nothing, if it's something that's not the truth, then there's, you're on shaky grounds.
Yeah,
so
and that's what I figured. I might as well be honest and said I couldn't just come up with something. And, it's hard in an interview. They're kind of looking at you. You're in a round table with a number of people. And I just, I'm not going to sit there and think. But I just said, look, I have not come across anything ethical in my situation, in my career. So thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for that, because questions come up. I know they want to know something specific, but if that what they're looking for wasn't in the answer that you have provided, they'll come up with another question, to try to ask you to find out what they want to know. So don't take it upon yourself to say, well, I got to give them something. You did give them something. Honestly, lucky for you, you never encountered such a situation. So hopefully in the future, you won't encounter such a situation. But certainly it's something that, once you do encounter it, maybe it's something that you would have, look into it or something. So just be truthful, be you, because that's all you can be. And that's what's recommended as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for your question. And actually, that brings us to the next section of our presentation. Is the preparation and the planning. So there is so much that you could do, the basics of what you need to do to get yourself ready for the interview and to put your best foot forward. Yes, we are trying to mitigate those situations that might come up and throw you off guard, but certainly we will do our homework so that we can be prepared. And with planning, hopefully we will minimize anything that gets, thrown at you or anything that might make you less of a favorable candidate, because certain things are not within your control. So in terms of preparation, there's so many, and feel free to type into chat what you think are some of the things that you have done to prepare for your interview. So I listed a couple. 1, research. Very basic. You've done that. Research the company. Research the company's competitors. Research the industry, the current events. You want to know pretty much a little of everything. You don't have to memorize everything, but you certainly want to be able to respond and address any questions that might pop up, because the interviewer is going to want to know, well, how well do you know our company, and why do you want to work for our company? And if you could say something about the company, tie it to the company's competitor or the industry, or what's going on right now, whether the company is going through a mergers and acquisition, or our company is having some public relations type issues or dealings or anything like that, then that means you are attuned to what's going on with the company and you're interested in the company and know enough that you still want to work for the company. Okay. Know your resume, your introduction, your elevator pitch, the job description, your accomplishments, your portfolio, everything that's at your fingertips, right? The reason you want to know your resume and your the job description well is so that you could tie things together. When you answer questions at the interview, you want to be able to tie it back to what they're looking for. Knowing your resume is one thing, but if you can't tie it to what they need, then they might look elsewhere. So you want to be able to tie things together. Practice some communication basics. Okay, type in chat some of the communication basics that you have encounter and exhibit. So some of them are like verbal, some of them are verbal, some of them are nonverbal. Verbal, your words, language, vocal variety. Nonverbal, you have your body language. Be sure to smile, maintain eye contact, sit up straight. I know your interview could possibly be in person or via video. In that case, I know maintaining eye contact with a computer camera could be a little bit tricky. So if you have the opportunity, practice that. So practice the interview basics. Avoid filler words, anything that could possibly be favorable for you to present yourself, practice that. When I say rehearse your answers, it's just like what we had covered earlier. Rehearse the answers to the interview questions so that you have something in your back pocket. Even if the questions at the interview is not something that you rehearse, but because you have done it quite often, you could also, you could quickly pull other examples into questions that pop up. So rehearse some of the answers and you'll shed some light on how you could respond to other types of questions. If you're able to, have mock interviews. Practice in front of the mirror if you can't get somebody live, okay, to do it with you. But if you can, try to get somebody that you could practice mock interviews with so that you can envision yourself in the setting. Well, actually, you're going to be in the actual setting, except it's in a mock interview, so that you could do the practice. It'll prepare you to be more comfortable and allows you to practice your communication skills and response to interviewing questions. Pep talk. that something that sound familiar as well? I know we have mentioned it, people have mentioned it, but sometimes we don't do enough of it, okay? Pep talk, it's very important to your mindset. Don't let anticipation or the preparation stress get to you, okay? Do your pep talk often, and it's just good for you. And you have a lot to offer. So you should be able to give yourself a pep talk anytime, anywhere, okay? So that's preparation. Planning, it's more towards, day of. So during the day of your interview, you want to dress professionally. Your interview could be in person or over, the video, which is, they could use Zoom, Teams, Skype, Google Meets, etc. Make sure your technology is all good. And then you dress your full ensemble, even if it's a video interview. So don't have a pajama at the bottom and have, a suit on top. Because just in case you have to get up or do anything, and you just want to be professionally dressed so that you can act accordingly. So it has something to do with the mind. When you're in your full suit, you are actually present yourself more professionally. Look up all the commuting details if you have to be somewhere in person. Okay? The transportation, the travel time, the parking. Depending on where you are, you may not get there directly, or you might have to go through hoops to get there. Find out as much detail as possible ahead of time and do that planning. Okay? And arrive early. I'm going to underline early, early, early. Can't stress that enough. You want to avoid any anxiety about being late, because that's going to play with your mind. And you don't want to introduce any negative emotions that may throw you off your game. So a lot of time for traffic, unexpected situations on the road, looking for the actual building of the company, waiting for the elevator, okay, going through security, front desk, going to the bathroom, freshening up before the start of the interview, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to share with you, my story. I had to go to Connecticut. And of course, you have to go through the bridge. So it's like you're anticipating, well, there's going to be traffic on the bridge, and Connecticut is still very far away. So then there might be traffic there. Luckily, there was no traffic. Everything was smooth. It was raining, but fortunately, there's no construction or unexpected situations on the road. I Google mapped it. I know the vicinity of where the building is going to be. I was like, oh yeah, this should be no problem. Yeah, I should get that. And I planned to arrive early. I did. When I got there, I drove by what appears to be the front entrance of the garage. Apparently, I couldn't find the front of the building. I drove past it. I turned back around. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I actually say, all right, well, I just have to go into the address where this location is. So I went into the garage and I parked. And then, of course, when I got to the elevator bank, you have to have a special ID in order to get in. So I had to call for the security, and they're like, okay, were you here to see which company, et cetera. I gave them the information. They sent me up to the lobby security. So I thought that was the only security I need to go to. No, when I got up there, they're like, oh, you're going to go to another elevator bank, and then you're going to go up to this, the such and such floor. I got there, there's another security. I had to check in there. So aside from waiting for the elevator, going through two securities, and then, of course, definitely after a long trip, you want to, go to the restroom, freshen up, and all that other stuff. So that, by the time I actually got out of the restroom, I didn't take that long. My interviewer was there already. So I wasn't late, but I wasn't early. So, but luckily I did plan to be there early so that I had time for all that other stuff that happened. So make sure that you arrive early. Interview day readiness means grooming, hair, nail, makeup. If you need to, do all that, make an appointment ahead of time so you can prepare for it on the day of. Eat a proper meal. You don't want to be too hungry because you want to be in a good shape to have that interview. And drink some lukewarm water. You don't want the caffeine or the sugary drinks to mess up with your vocal cord and make you cough, etc. Stretch to get your body and mind ready for action. So this is what I actually shared in some of my other classes. What you would do if you're able to, okay, raise your hand up and do a superhero pose. You would feel your cells awakening. Okay, that's actually good when you walk into your interview because I actually give you that confidence, the superhero pose. Okay, also keep your emotions in check. A little stay calm and relax. A little nervousness is good, but you don't want to have the jitters get to you and limit your ability to communicate. And also do a last minute pep talk, even if it's as simple as I got this. Okay, I know you got it. Bring copies of resumes with you. If they want other people to interview you, you have copies ready for them so that they don't have to try to run to the printer, print out copies, et cetera, et cetera. So just have that ready. And also, if it's a virtual interview, you want to have reliable and stable internet connection. Okay, connect to the Ethernet cord whenever possible for direct connectivity, and have a backup such as a hotspot or your phone if it comes to that, okay? And make sure those devices are charged. And so these preparations and plannings are going to allow you to maintain your confident mindset. When you're prepared, you'll feel ready and you'll be confident and you'll be able to walk in to your interview like you're, a winner, which you are already because they selected you based on your resume, your skills, experience, and expertise. So here's a checklist for you to reference back. Okay, research, preparation, practice, mindset check, and be you. So we actually, I welcome that question very much because one of my advice is be you. You are going to be working with them, so you don't want to be anything else but you, and that's how you're going to be able to put your best foot forward. All right, and that is the end of the presentation, which means it's time for Q&A if you have any.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
So,